Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy here. It's been a long time. Been a long time. I know every time I get on here and I say like, "Hey, I'm back. I'm gonna do more videos." It never uh, works out. I end up doing a couple of videos for a couple of days or whatever, and then I go back on like a short break hiatus. Just a lot of things have been really different. A lot of things have changed as usual. Um, I'm still a fan of wrestling. I'm still here. That's why I'm doing this video. I wanted to do a video on 2019 because just the month alone in January, it has been one hell of a year for the world of professional wrestling. Within the world of WWE, outside of WWE, the climate is changing. I remember a couple of years ago when Jeff Jarrett used to say that a wrestling boom was coming. A wrestling boom was coming, and even though his new company that he's trying to start up, Global Force Wrestling, fell through the cracks, nothing really came of it. I think he was onto something. I think Jeff Jarrett was onto something, and saying that. And I remember famous wrestling podcasters Don Tony and Kevin Castle. They made fun of They made fun of Jeff Jarrett for making a statement like, "What wrestling boom? There's no wrestling boom coming. This and that, blah blah blah." But looking at it now, 4 or 5 years later, I think since Jarrett made that statement, I do think there is a wrestling boom coming. It is. It might not be to the level of the Monday Night Wars. We had WWE going up against Monday Nitro. I'm sorry, WCW Nitro, and then you had the rebellious ECW as the third tier wrestling company. That was when wrestling was at its peak. I don't think wrestling will ever go back to that, or even going back to the days of the ruthless aggression era. I don't think, just for WWE standpoint, I don't think they will ever go back to that, and I don't think wrestling will ever be as popular as that. However, I do think we are entering a new phase, another new era in professional wrestling. And I'm not just saying for WWE, but just within professional wrestling. Like I said, this is a brand new year. And within 1 month, so many things have kicked off. Let's go down the list. First off, got to talk about New Japan. WrestleKingdom 13, it was 13, January 4th. Awesome pay-per-view. Loved it. To me, for the second or third year in a row, they've told WrestleMania to hold their fucking beer. Except this time, I think WrestleKingdom 13 just told WrestleMania 35 not only to hold its beer, but to hold the whole fucking case. WrestleKingdom 13 was awesome from top to bottom. It was a dream match card. It really was. A lot of the matches some of the matches felt kind of rushed, a little bit rushed. Felt like, or maybe if not rushed, they could have added a little bit more time. But it was definitely a solid pay-per-view, in my opinion. 9 out of 10. To me, pay-per-view of the year. Pay-per-view of the year. For me already. I mean, a contender for pay-per-view of the year. A contender for pay-per-view of the year already. And then a shocker, I think one of the biggest shockers was Kenny Omega losing the world championship to Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is now an 8-time New Japan heavyweight champion. So we'll get into that a little bit later in this video here. So we get Wrestle Kingdom, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes a couple days after that, or maybe actually before Wrestle Kingdom, I think in the month of December. The Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, they had their final farewells to Ring of Honor, tied their ends there, did what they did at Wrestle Kingdom, made their finals goodbye at Wrestle Kingdom, which explained Cody dropping the U.S. title in that company. And on January 8th, all the rumors, all the speculations, everything that was kind of hinted at maybe quite possibly being something actually became something. As of January 8th, Cody Rhodes and the Bucks shocked the wrestling world. They announced they are starting their own wrestling company called All Elite Wrestling. I mean, which everybody at this point, you all know, AEW, All Elite Wrestling. They've signed some talent. They've got guys like Pac, formerly known as Neville, which was a shocker, saying at the rally. And then the biggest signing that they have right now, being Chris Jericho, signing on to it. Everyone lost their minds. AEW, we know, is being financially backed by the Khan family, who are the Jaguars football team, owners of the Jaguar football team. I mean, just a lot of stuff. I mean, the wrestling world lost their minds, wrestling fans. And AEW is becoming the talk of the town right now. It really is. There's not been one article or several articles I've seen in Facebook group pages or wrestling news pages or whatever that does not talk about AEW. And we're going to get a little bit of that because I have my opinions about AEW. I think this is great. They have the financial backing of the Khan family. The Khan family themselves are worth $6.3 billion. Tony Khan, who was the son of his father, is going to be the one himself, backing it up here in this company. I think it's awesome. I saw an interview with them. A lot of people, here's the thing. So All Elite Wrestling has a lot of potential. They're having their first show, Double or Nothing, on May 25th. It's a Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the MGM building, I believe. Here's the thing with AEW. AEW, it's exciting. I know a lot of wrestling fans are excited for the prospect of a new wrestling company, but not just a new wrestling company, but a wrestling company that could potentially be on the level of a WWE. We have not had a wrestling company to be on the potential level of a WWE since WCW. And that was over 20, well, not even over, but nearly, if not already, 20 years ago. Like, that's how long it's been. It's been 2 decades since we've had another wrestling company to have the potential financial backing to match a WWE till right now with All Elite Wrestling. That's how long it's been. And that's insane. For wrestling fans like me who grew up in the 90s watching this stuff, that is insane. So All Elite Wrestling, they don't have, a TV deal right now. It's rumored that they may have, they may be in talks with TNT or TBS, which are 2 big, huge national networks. A lot of people were taking the news. So here's the thing. So I could have talked about the All Elite thing January 8th, but really, there really wasn't a lot of information. There really wasn't. The Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, they all talked about a lot of potential things of what AEW could be, but none of them really went into details of, the aspects of certain aspects of the company. Them talking about everyone's going to get paid the same from, the males and females. They're going to have health insurance, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. They were just pretty much saying a bunch of buzzwords. Saying the right things, get the people excited, get them hyped. But and even still now, to this day, we don't know a lot about All Elite Wrestling in terms of the nitty gritty. However, though, I could have done it, but there just wasn't enough information for me. A lot of people were taking the press conference January 8th, and they were just running with it. And I'm just like, I'm going to wait. And good thing I did wait, because we ended up finding a lot more information. Of some things, a lot more than what we did on January 8th. I personally feel, for example, Chris Jericho, a lot of people are saying, well, they won't have a TV deal. Chris Jericho said it himself on the Busted Open Radio podcast, and he said it on his own podcast, Talk is Jericho, where he said that he signed a 3-year exclusive deal with All Elite Wrestling. He said he would not have signed a 3-year deal if there was not a potential TV deal in play. Because for wrestling, having a TV deal is key. Is what steps you up away from the competition, or separates you, excuse me, from the competition, and it makes you more out to be a big deal. So Chris Jericho said that. So if Jericho said that he wouldn't have signed a deal with All Elite unless there was some serious talks and initiatives to have a TV station in play. If that's not a confirmation that All Elite is not in talks with a national TV deal, I don't know what is. And I've seen the comments. I've seen the people online knocking All Elite, saying, well, they don't have a TV deal. They'll be no different than, an ROH or any other indie fed, or, it's nothing but an indie fed, and blah, blah, blah. And to a degree, I mean, that's kind of true, but they're going to have a TV deal. It's going to happen. So I don't know why people are killing it before this thing even has legs to stand up. They're just killing AEW. It's like Jericho said it himself. They are talking with TV deals. And he even said on the Busted Open Radio, I quoting him, he did say, when the time comes when we get that deal, people are going to say, wow, okay, now these guys are serious. These guys mean business. He said this himself on Busted Open Radio. You can go there on YouTube and check it out. So if that's not a confirmation, these guys are in talks with a TV deal, and one that is quite possibly a network that is on the level of a TNT. That's automatically right there going to set them apart from the competition, and automatically will solidify them as a number 2 largest wrestling brand in America. Then you've got Tony Khan. Tony Khan, I know a lot of people, when this whole thing was being speculated, and then when it came out to be that AEW will be a thing, a lot of people were just like, oh, well, it's going to be no different than TNA. Here's the difference between Tony Khan and Dixie Carter. Dixie Carter was someone who really didn't understand wrestling, who really didn't get wrestling. She was just a rich lady with comes from a rich, wealthy family. And that was just kind of like, hey, let me go on a business venture and let me try out this wrestling thing and see how it works. The difference between Dixie and Tony Khan. Tony Khan is actually a wrestling fan. If you listen to Tony Khan's interview he had with X-Pac's podcast called The AfterBuzz, X-Pac has like a 40 minute interview with Tony Khan himself. It is a really good interview. If you guys don't listen to any, if and that's the one thing I've noticed, a lot of people haven't been, news sites that haven't been watching. They've been watching reports from, Busted Open Radio, Jericho's own podcast, some things he shared. Nobody's talking about the Tony Khan interview he's had with X-Pac that he had literally a week after they had revealed this whole thing with AEW. Tony Khan had a 40-minute interview on the AfterBuzz with X-Pac, and it was really informative, and it was a really good fucking interview. But this guy is a wrestling fan. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. He's not in this just to say, okay, well, hey, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, they've come to me and say, hey, we want to start a wrestling company, and I just go, okay, here's my money. Like, no, this is something he's actually passionate about. He wants to do this. He wants to make All Elite Wrestling a legit thing. And this guy's a fan. You listen to him talking to X-Pac. He's 36 years old, so he's a young guy. He's been around the wrestling world. He's been at All In show. He's been He knows about WCW. He's been to ECW events. He knows about ECW. He's a fan of ECW. He's a fan of the WWF, the Attitude Era. The guy knows his shit. He's not just some willy-nilly rich dude who's just throwing money into a business venture. He knows his shit. He's a wrestling fan. And I think that's the one thing that kind of sets All Elite apart from, even TNA, when TNA was off the grounds running, when Dixie Carter took over. He's a wrestling fan. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Ted Turner, because Ted Turner was also a wrestling fan. Now, Ted Turner wasn't as, I think, involved with WCW. He just kind of, let Eric Bischoff and, other key people who knew a little, who were a little bit more hands on with the direction of WCW. And then Ted Turner was just a financial backer. Tony Khan is actually in this. He's the financial backer, but he's also going to be part of this whole creative process and making All Elite. And he's a wrestling fan first. And he's from Illinois, so that's another awesome thing as well. He grew up from Illinois. He was born and raised here in Illinois, so that's awesome there. So that's the one thing that's been shaking up the wrestling world, especially the most. Then we just hear, like a month ago, I'm sorry, not even a month, a week ago, the Revival have requested an axe for their release because they're unsatisfied with their position in the company and the overall just like tag team division on Raw. Dolph Ziggler having issues, even though he kind of like trolled people and he ended up showing up at the Royal Rumble when he said he's on a quote unquote hiatus from WWE. He's got to be feeling something. I don't know. I mean, Dolph Ziggler does this thing where there's always reports where he's frustrated with the company. He's not going to resign, but then he ends up doing it. He ends up resigning another, exclusive contract with AEW now being a thing. I don't know. Dolph Ziggler at this point seems like he's a WWE for lifer type of like thing, and that's fine. That's his shtick. That's his shtick. Then we just heard Dean Ambrose is looking, not even looking. Dean Ambrose is done with WWE. The reports of, WWE made an official statement announcing Dean Ambrose, his contract will end with WWE in April. So after WrestleMania, sometime after WrestleMania, his contract expires with WWE, and they wish him the best of luck, and and would hope for him to return back to return back home to them at some point. But that's huge. And then literally the day after that, Hideo Itami asked for his release, formerly known as Kenta, and WWE granted his release. Now, yes, they have not done shit with Hideo Itami since he came on to WWE, especially from NXT to his crossover to the main roster. They haven't done anything with them. But still, and then that's unfortunate, but still, Hideo Itami is a talented guy, and he asked for his release, and they granted it, and he tweeted out immediately after saying thank you and changed his name back to Kenta. Where he may go, we don't know. He could go back to Noah. Some people are already saying All Elite. I don't know. But he could end up going to Noah. But the wrestling world is shaking a buzz. And as of today, as a matter of fact, it's January 31st. Already, it's been like an hour. Already, it's February 1st in Japan. Kenny Omega's contract has ended. He has made a statement a couple weeks ago in a Japanese article saying that he is no longer with New Japan. He's done with New Japan. And New Japan Pro Wrestling, they only found out about this through that article. So they're kind of pissed. Like, whoa, wait, you're done with us? Like, you're still under contract with us. And already you're saying you're done. We haven't even negotiated anything. And then reports of WWE trying to sign Omega because they know that at the end of this dude's contract, he's going to be the hottest free agent on the wrestling scene, probably since AJ Styles. So they're trying to do what they can. And then there's the thing with All Elite. Will All Elite sign Kenny Omega? And that's pretty much almost a given because All Elite is ran by his best friends, the Young Bucks. So it's a matter of, is Kenny Omega going to go with his friends and do something with All Elite? Or is he going to go to the big leagues, which is WWE? All this and more. I mean, the wrestling world, just in 1 month, it's fucking crazy right now. It is crazy. And this is only January. It's going to be really exciting to see what comes of this. It's going to be exciting to see, the rise of All Elite when they get that TV deal. What stars are they going to put on their roster? Are they going to have this weekly Tuesday night Dynamite show that's been rumored going around? It's going to be interesting to see New Japan moving forward because they lost some big talent. I mean, from the Young Bucks, Cody and Kenny Omega, they lost some stars. They lost some big talent. So now they have to try to fill, and they lost Kushida as well, who's also WWE bound. So they lost five. They lost five key spot talents there, both in their heavyweight tag team and junior heavyweight division. So New Japan is going to have to make some new stars. They're going to have to push, elevate some new fresh faces. Going to be interesting to see them there. And on top of that, them continuing to make their strides here overseas and try to make a mark here overseas. That's going to be interesting. Got to wonder if, their success or failure of coming here overseas, if that's going to have an effect, with AEW now being the thing. Then you have Ring of Honor, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks. They also worked with Ring of Honor simultaneously when they worked for New Japan. Now that they're gone, that was a huge void that they had to fill. And Ring of Honor did pick up a lot of talent. Like, my God. They just, Juice Robinson just signed a new extensive contract with ROH. They signed, I think they signed Fit Finley's son. Who's some PCO they signed from MLW. Bandito they just signed. And they also took Roosh. They took Roosh from MLW. Fucking crazy. And I like Roosh. Roosh is awesome. And they snagged him right from MLW. And I'm like, bro, dude just debuted in Major League Wrestling and was only on like 2 taped episodes. And already MLW had to cancel one of their big marquee match that they had set for LA Park and Roosh, because Roosh just signed a 1-year exclusive deal with Ring of Honor. So Ring of Honor trying to sign talent and keep their talent they already have on lock. Then you've got WWE, who are really not that great right now. The product is not great. They had that big, huge announcement about, things are going to be a change. Things are going to be different. I'll believe it when I see it. Yes, they've done some things. They've kind of, changed around. Seth Rollins winning the Royal Rumble. Bobby Lashley, new Intercontinental Champion, which I'm happy with that. Daniel Bryan turning heel and being the champion that he is, which is, Daniel Bryan's been fucking entertaining. It's been great. But I mean, yeah, they're sprinkling, doing little things differently on the main roster. But to me, I'm kind of like a wait and see person. Already, a lot of fans are being like optimistic about it, and kind of like, well, they're Bobby Lashley, IC champ, and they're doing this and that. They're kind of changing. To me, I say bullshit. And the reason why is because it's WrestleMania season. When it's WrestleMania season, that's when WWE kicks it into high gear. They kick it into high gear, and that's when their storylines are the most intriguing, the most interesting. They go balls on walls. It's WrestleMania season. And to me, I think this whole quote unquote talk for change, in my opinion, I won't judge it. Or should I say, I won't hold WWE against it until after WrestleMania. When WrestleMania cools off, let's see then if this quote unquote change to the WWE product, if it holds some merit to what they said. Because to me right now, I'm still not buying it. Like, yeah, Rollins won the Rumble. That's great. I like that. I popped for it. That was awesome. Hope he gets the strike from Brock Lesnar. I don't know what else, will be moving forward, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they call up from NXT, who they put on what brand, switch around what brand. If WWE does not do anything compelling or different, and it's just the same old shit, they're playing for the audience of one, being Vince McMahon, then it's like, really, what's the point of sticking around? I mean, really, because the month of November and December were some bad months for WWE. It was. And no matter how much I love Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman, they can't save a 3-hour catastrophe that has been Raw. SmackDown, even, SmackDown, it's a lighter show to digest than Raw, but even SmackDown is kind of like going through the motions. So to me, WWE are probably looking to change something. There are rumors going around WWE telling, talent that they are potentially signing, like, hey, if you're being offered, uh, uh, a certain amount of money, show us what you're being offered from what other, company, and we'll match it. WWE at this point now, they're trying to buy out a lot of talent, and that's the one bad thing I kind of don't like, because at this point it's like WWE are just buying talent just to say they have them. Now that AEW is becoming a thing, and it hasn't even started yet, but it's becoming a thing. I think WWE are just I won't say they're in a panic mode, because at the end of the day, it's WWE. They're the big dogs. They are the big dogs. So, I think they're just really in this buying frenzy. And like I said, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for WWE, because you're seeing a lot more talent now starting to speak up their dissatisfaction, whether it be their placement within the company, how they're being booked, having more time on TV, or their lack of. It's going to be interesting to see WWE in 2019, and to see if they truly are, quote unquote, changing the product, because their viewership is going down. The younger demographic in particular is really not there. I think WWE. I read somewhere that WWE has their oldest target audience that they've had in a while. They're hitting men in their 40s and like 50s. I think, that are watching WWE. Young people like myself in their 20s, or men in their 30s, early 30s, starting to fall off in WWE's demographic, and that's kind of sad. So you guys let me know what you think. This is just kind of like a summary of everything that's happened. And again, I keep reiterating, it's only January. You have Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling been doing a pretty good job, and they're proud of. Unfortunately, they end up switching to a channel no one even gets, but they do a simultaneous multicast of Twitch, where you can watch the product on Twitch. But I mean, still, like, it's crazy. We just found out that actually Chris Jericho even stated that Impact Wrestling and we're close to striking a deal to have both him and Kenny Omega work in their company. Work out with some people. But AEW came along and they offered Jericho more money than what Impact was offering Jericho, and Jericho obviously went with All Elite. So it's going to be interesting 2019 for wrestling. Looking back at it, I definitely think Jeff Jarrett was right in this assumption. And I think I even mentioned that I made a video talking about that. There's definitely a wrestling boom coming, a new era coming. The territories, I guess you could say, to a certain degree, it's coming back. It's coming back, and it's interesting. So you guys let me know what you think. I'm going to make another video just talking about solely for All Elite, because there's some things I want to get off my chest concerning All Elite Wrestling. I just don't want to talk about it in here, making it too long. So you guys let me know what you think about everything that's going on here in 2019 with everything that I've mentioned. I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen Dean Ambrose's lead. Like, Dean Ambrose is one of their biggest stars on that roster, whether you like him or not. Whether you consider him to be the weak link of the Shield, he was a big star. They invested money. They made some investments in Dean Ambrose, Money in the Bank winner, former WWE champion, multiple Intercontinental Tag Team US champ. They've got some stock in Dean, and for him to leave, him being one of their top stars, that says something. He might not be a Brock Lesnar or some of the other bigger names or whatever, but he's a big enough name, a big enough star to, if he's vowing to say, hey, he's leaving and he's not renewing his contract, and he's turned down a multi-year, pay grade. I think that that's a sign that something's not right with WWE. And the wrestlers are speaking up. And then you have Hideo Itami. Like, yeah, they didn't do shit with him, unfortunately. But then, which in Hideo Itami's case, that's a perfect example of WWE just signing too much talent, not knowing what to do with them. But you get another, well-known name, at least maybe not amongst the casual audience, but at least for the hardcore wrestling fans, another well-known name asking for his release. They granted it. Something's running amok here in WWE, and something needs to change. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think about this and thoughts in the comment box below. I'm back. 100% this time. I'm not fucking with you guys. I'm back. Peace out.